This video will explain step by step how you're going to make the Blocart wheel bracket. You're going to be using mild steel, round bar 6mm diameter and flat bar 20mm wide and 3mm thick. Measure 100mm along the length of the round bar and cut it using a hacksaw. The cut ends will be pretty sharp and untidy, so clean them up with a file to make them nice and flat, and then tidy up the edges to get rid of any sharp burrs. Now you're going to bend the round bar in the following way. For the first bend, go all the way around to the first mark. This will give you a right angle. Put the round bar in the machine this way and then bend it to the second mark. And finally, put the round bar in the bending machine this way up and again bend to the second mark. Put the flat bar in the vise and use a scriber to mark a point 50mm from the end. Use an engineer's square with the stock pressed tightly against the material and scribe a line across. Move the cut line closer to the jaws of the chuck so it doesn't vibrate when you're cutting it. Hacksaw to the left hand side of your line. Carefully clean up all the rough and sharp edges with a file. Take a set of odd leg calipers and set the distance between the notch and the scriber to 10mm. Using the notch of the calipers, press tightly against the edge of the flat bar, scribe a neat line down the middle. Finish off by scribing 10mm up from the end. Now use a center punch to mark where the lines cross. Measure up a further 15mm and center punch that point as well. Put a 3.2mm drill in the pillar drill and secure the flat bar into the machine vise. Take your time drilling through the mild steel. It's a much harder material than the aluminium. The drill will leave some quite sharp burrs of metal on the underside of the flat bar. Use a larger diameter drill to get rid of these burrs. Now we're going to set up the two parts to braze the material together. Arrange the two parts on the flat surface of a fire brick. Use a third piece of steel to make sure that the round bar is sitting flat. When you're using the brazing torch, start by turning on the gas valve a fraction. Use a flint to ignite the gas. The flame should look like this. Now, in a very controlled way, turn the oxygen on. You want to adjust the flame so it reduces to a very clean blue triangular flame with clean edges. At this point, make sure you're wearing a welding glove and have brazing goggles on. take the brazing rod and dip it in some flux. To start off with, direct the flame at the flat bar to focus the heat on it. Then move the flame so both components become red hot. Once they are red hot, apply the brazing rod. Follow the same process on both sides. Even though the material has stopped glowing, it's still very hot. It's not safe to handle it directly, so pick up the material with a pair of vice grips and hold it under the cold water tap to cool it down. At this point you're going to use a jig to hold the round bar while you braze this washer onto it. Put the washer on top of the jig and then locate the round bar into the jig. Set the brazing torch in the same way you did before. Focus the heat on the round bar. When both the round bar and the washer are glowing red hot, apply the brazing rod. Once you've finished with the brazing torch, turn the oxygen off and you'll see the flame change like this, and then turn the gas off and the flame should go out. And again, at this point only handle with the vice grips and quench in cold water to cool the material down. At this point you can clean up the bracket with a wire brush. Now we're going to cut a thread on the end of the 6mm round bar. Hold it in the vise like this. We're going to use this 6mm die to produce the thread we want. Make sure the shaft of the die holder is in line with the round steel bar that you're about to thread. Apply firm, even pressure as you start cutting the thread to make sure that the tool stays straight up and down. For every full rotation that you make, go back 1/4 of a turn. This will break up the waste chips that are forming inside the die. You'll feel a little click as these waste chips are broken off, and the die will keep cutting freely. Continue the threading process until you're about 5mm above the washer. Once you've done this, you should be able to spin the tool back off the threaded bar pretty easily.